The Sound of the Falls, Chapter 10. Long before Kaya could see the waterfalls on the river head, she began to hear their voices. She and her family were riding over hot, dry plains, so the murmur of running water was a sweet promise. But as they came closer to the river, that murmur grew into a powerful song, like many men drumming. When the riders crested the last hill and looked down at the shining river, Kaya saw the falls plunging over black cliffs. Even at this distance, the falls roared like thunder. The earth seemed to tremble. Kaya's father, who rode ahead, signaled for everyone to halt before beginning the steep descent from the bluffs into the valley. He and the other men and women dismounted and began checking the heavy packs to make sure they were tied tightly and wouldn't slip and injure a horse or a rider. Kaya dismounted and gazed down at the river valley. Stony islands clustered in the river, white water sweeping around them. Kaya saw large horse herds grazing on the flatlands. Many fishing platforms of sticks lashed together had been built out over the water. Hundreds of teepees and lodges lined both shores as far upstream and downstream as she could see. The villages were those of many different peoples, some who lived on the river all year and others who visited from the plains, the mountains, and the ocean to fish and trade. Kaya's band and many other bands of Nimipu were joining them for the yearly return of the salmon up the Big River. Kaya shaded her eyes and peered at the mist that rose like thick smoke from the waterfalls. She saw bright rainbows arcing low over the falls, and her heart lifted. Rainbows were good signs. She hoped to meet up with her friend Two Hawks here at the falls. He might have good news of Kaya's sister, Speaking Rain. But Kaya knew that Two Hawks might bring bad news instead. He might have learned that Speaking Rain had been abandoned by their captors, or injured, or lost. For how could a blind girl get along without someone to care for her? As if Tatlo sensed Kaya's troubled thoughts, the pup bounded up to her, his pink tongue hanging out. He was growing fast and his legs were getting long. Kaya bent down and put her face against his soft ear. "You'll help me find my sister, won't you?" she whispered. He licked her hand, his tail wagging in circles, as if he was saying, "I'll try." When Kaya followed her mother and the other women to the riverbank the next morning, the men and boys were already fishing. Some spearfished from rocky outcroppings along the shore. Others stood on sturdy platforms built out over the falls. They held their long-handled dip nets down into the crashing waters. When a salmon leaped into a dip net, the force of the current closed the net around it. It took great strength to lift a large, struggling fish, and if a man was pulled into the rushing water, he could be swept over the falls and drowned. For safety, the men tied lines around their waists and secured the lines to rocks. Kaya shuddered as she saw Tota and the others leaning over the raging waters. The men's work was difficult and dangerous, but the women and girls worked hard too. All day, Kaya helped carry the heavy salmon the men caught to the women, who cleaned the fish and sliced them into thin strips. As Kaya walked with Kutsa to their village upstream above the falls, she looked back down the valley at the villages that crowded the shore. "I've been watching for the Salish people to arrive," she said. "Two Hawks might come with them." "They could be on the other side of the river," Kutsa said. "Two women came across today in a canoe to trade with us. I don't speak their language, but Crane Song knows it. The traders told her that newcomers from the north were putting up teepees over there. Their teepees were made of hide, like Two Hawks people have." Kaya felt a shiver of hope. "Couldn't I cross the river with the traders and see who the newcomers are? I could cross back later with some fishermen." Kutsa looked kindly into Kaya's eyes. "The traders tied their canoe upstream. Surely they'll have room for you. Take them some finger cakes as a gift." Kaya ran into her teepee and put a handful of goose cakes into the bag she wore on her belt. Then she had an idea. She took Speaking Rain's doll from her pack and tucked it into her belt. If somehow she found her sister, she wanted to put the beloved doll into her arms, a sign that she'd never lost hope that they'd be together again. Tatlo was sleeping in the shade beside the teepee. When the Kaya came out with the doll, he jumped up and licked her chin. Then he sniffed the doll and licked it too. Do you want to come with me? Kaya asked. Tatlo barked twice, as if saying, hey. He ran ahead as she raced up the shore to where two women were putting bundles into a dugout cedar canoe. Kaya asked in sign language, May I cross the river with you? With her hands, the elder woman said, Come with us. Gratefully, Kaya gave her the goose cakes and climbed into the canoe. Tatlo jumped in right behind her. The young woman knelt in the prow of the canoe, and the elder woman sat in the stern. The elder woman expertly guided the canoe away from the shore. Soon they were paddling across a place where the river water was shallower and quieter than the rest of the river. This was a prized fishing place because it was easy to see salmon in the clear, smoothly running water. Kaya saw the boys, Raven and Foxtail, fishing together on a little island just downstream. They tied their safety lines around the same rock, and they were taking turns using a big dip net. As Kaya watched, Raven dragged up the net with a large salmon twisting in it. The many fish leaping and splashing around the canoe excited Tatlo. He put his feet up on the side and barked at them. Get down, Kaya said. Down. She grabbed the big pup by the scruff of his neck and tried to make him sit, but Tatlo was too excited to sit. When a salmon jumped right next to the canoe, he lunged and snapped at it and toppled out of the canoe into the river. The surging current caught him and swept him downstream. Help my dog, Kaya cried. The wind whipped her braids across her face and tore away her words. She watched in horror as Tatlo struggled to swim in the turning river. His paws thrashed the water, and his amber eyes looked about wildly. Each time he came up for air, the current dragged him under again. Surely he'd be swept down the falls and killed on the rocks below. The elder woman turned the canoe downstream, and the young woman paddled hard and fast, but Kaya knew there was no way they could catch up to Tatlo. Already the current had carried him downstream almost to the island. Then she saw Raven looking their way. He quickly thrust the dip net back into the river. Foxtail leaned out and peered down into the wild river. Then, with a sweep, Raven raised the net with something in it. Foxtail grabbed the handle too and steadied the heavy weight against his body as he helped lift the net. It took a long moment for Kaya to realize that it was Tatlo they lifted out of the swirling water. The elder woman guided the canoe toward the island. By the time they beached on the stones, the boys had Tatlo out of the net and on his feet. The pup was coughing water and shaking it from his coat. His legs were wobbly, but he managed to wag his tail when Kaya scrambled from the canoe and knelt by him, pressing her face against his drenched head. The current carried him right to us, Raven yelled over the river noise. Then Foxtail leaned toward Kaya with a sly grin. He put his mouth near his ear and shouted, Magpies don't know how to take care of dogs. That awful nickname again. But he's right, she thought. I didn't take care of Tatlo. I should have held him every moment. It's my fault he fell in. Instead of hanging her head, she looked Foxtail right in the eye and flapped her arms like a magpie. They both started laughing. Katso, yow yow, she shouted to the boys, so the boys could hear her thanks. With Tatlo shivering against her legs, Kaya climbed back into the canoe so that they could continue on to the opposite shore. Kaya made her way through the villages crowded along the shore. Tatlo stayed right beside her, and his nose twitched at all the new scents around them. Kaya's ears buzzed with all the different languages she heard. From time to time, she stopped where women were cooking and signed, Where are the newcomers camped? Always they pointed east, so she kept walking upstream. At last she saw several hide-covered teepees in a small circle. Could these be Two Hawks people? She ran with Tatlo loping at her side. A young woman was unloading deerskin bags from a travois. Kaya threw her words. What tribe are you? The young woman cocked her head and studied Kaya closely. She signed, I am Salish. What tribe are you? Kaya swept her hand from her ear down across her chin, the sign for Nimipu. Is Two Hawks with you? She signed. He wintered with our people. Two Hawks told us about you, the young woman signed. Right now he's fishing with the men. She motioned for Kaya to follow her. As Kaya and the Salish woman walked among the teepees, Tatlo sniffed the air a moment and then bounced away and began ringing back and forth between the teepees. Tatlo, come, Kaya called, wanting to keep him close to her. When he didn't come, she ran after him. Horses grazed near the teepees. Tatlo ran between them, his tail wagging, and headed for some small pines. Kaya followed. She saw a baby in a tikas popped against one of the pines. Tatlo was sniffing the girl who sat tending the baby. The girl's back was to Kaya, who was so intent on catching her pup that she didn't realize until she was only a few steps away that the girl was Speaking Rain. "Sister, my sister!" Kaya cried. She felt tears sting at her eyes as she went to her knees in front of Speaking Rain and seized her hand. "You're alive!" Kaya, Speaking Rain hesitantly touched Kaya's face and then threw her arms around her shoulders. Hey, I'm alive. How did you find me?" "I didn't find you," Kaya said. "My dog did. Tatlo knows your scent from your dog. Or your doll. Sorry." She took the doll from her belt and placed it in Speaking Rain's lap. "I mended it for you and kept it safe. I knew we'd be together again." Speaking Rain clutched her doll to her chest, her smile shining like sun on the water. "Katsa, Yao," she said softly. "I prayed for you every day. Many times I've thought how hard it must have been for you after I escaped," Kaya said. "I shouldn't have gone." "But I wanted you to go," Speaking Rain insisted. She held her doll tightly. "I couldn't have kept up with you. Two Hawks told us how difficult your journey was." "Was the woman who kept us in her teepee angry when she discovered I was gone? Did she whip you for helping me get away?" "She was angry, but she didn't whip me," Speaking Rain said. "Her people were all hurrying to pack up and break camp. They wanted to get back to their own country before snow stranded them." "Somehow you got away from them too," Kaya said, "or did they abandon you?" Speaking Rain put her hand on Kaya's arm. "I don't know what happened, sister. I found my way to the river to drink and wash. When I came back, everyone was gone. Maybe in their rush, they forgot about me. I was alone." "My poor sister," Kaya breathed. "What did you do?" "I tried to stay calm," Speaking Rain said. "I needed a place to sleep, to hide. I crawled through the thicket near the river until I found grass trampled where deer had bedded down. Low branches sheltered the nest. I decided to stay there. Even if I could have found a trail, I'd never have been able to follow it." "Did you have any food?" Kaya asked. "They'd taken all the food," Speaking Rain said. "I tried to eat grass, but I couldn't keep it down. After a few sleeps, I was so weak that I could scarcely walk, and the nights grew colder and colder." As Kaya listened to her sister's story, her heart hurt in her chest. "You must have been frightened," she said softly. "I knew I would die, so I tried to make my spirit strong," Speaking Rain said. "But I drifted in and out of swirling dreams, awake, asleep. I didn't know any more. Then I heard steps in the grass, steady ones, not a deer browsing. Someone was walking nearby. I moaned. The steps came closer and then I felt a touch on my cheek." Kaya leaned closer to her sister. "Who found you?" "A Salish woman named White Braids. She took me in and brewed wawpaw for my fever. Every day she carried me into a sweat lodge and bathed me. She fed me broth and then mush. She treated me as if I were her own child, and slowly I got stronger. When digging season came, I was able to travel with her to the root fields. That's where Two Hawks and his family found me." "Is she here at the falls?" Kaya asked. "Yes," Speaking Rain replied. "Come with me and you can meet her." "I have much to thank her for," Kaya said.